All right, Chad Roby Show here with our Mighty Oaks Hero of the Week. And each week I want to come to you with amazing military heroes who have defended our nation and also went abroad to serve those who can't defend themselves in the honor of freedom. And man, this week's hero is someone I'm excited to share because he's a fellow Force Recon Marine and a brother Recon Marine from another generation. And his name is Sgt Robert Hughes of 1st Force Recon Company in Vietnam. And he was known by his teammates at First Force as the Gentle Giant. And Sergeant Hughes left a pretty incredible legacy with so many stories of heroism in combat and stories that still motivate Recon Marines today. In 1967 to 68, Sergeant Hughes was the non-commissioned officer in charge of the 1st Force Recon dive team. And during combat operations for Force Recon in Vietnam, they would conduct a pretty wide range of scuba missions. They would do bridge inspections, do demo on bridges. They would also recover equipment and at times have to recover bodies that were lost of our service members. And they also did this kind of crazy mission of locating underwater entrances to the North Vietnamese tunnel systems, where enemy divers known as the NVA naval sappers would insert into the murky waters of the rivers and plant explosives to kill U.S. service members. This was a very serious problem for our troops, and it was 1st Force Recon who was tasked with locating these tunnel systems and eliminating that threat. The story I want to share with you today is of Sergeant Hughes' incredible courage during one of these missions. The Marine Corps infantry had spotted this NVA soldier and began to chase him, and the NVA soldier jumped into the river and never surfaced again. So he went under the water. They didn't know where he went. He never surfaced. And so the Marines suspected that he went into an underwater tunnel system, and that's when they dispatched Sergeant Hughes and his dive team from 1st Force Recon. Sergeant Hughes led the dive team. They inserted into the murky water with kind of, not modern day, but at the time, just the scuba gear that they were issued. And as they're going through this murky water, you have to imagine this is probably brown, pitch black, very low to probably zero visibility. Barely even any sunlight would come through this water. So they're along the river banks, and Sergeant Hughes is feeling with his hand along the muddy river wall, looking for an entrance to this tunnel. In his other hand, he has this K-bar knife in case he comes into contact with the enemy, and he actually did. As Sergeant Hughes felt the entrance to the tunnel, an enemy diver shoots out of the hole, and they become engaged in hand-to-hand combat. The two divers are fighting with each other, and while they're fighting, you have to imagine like they're fighting underwater, both on scuba gear. And I've done a lot of scuba diving, I've done a lot of diving, and I've also done a lot of fighting. It's hard to me imagine zero visibility, fighting with an enemy while on scuba gear. Crazy. And while they're fighting, Sergeant Hughes gets a glimpse of the sun maybe coming through that murky water and reflecting off the enemy's knife. And before the enemy could plunge his knife into Sergeant Hughes, he reaches out towards that glimmer of light and grabs the enemy's wrist. And at the same time, Sergeant Hughes had his K-bar in his hand, and as he's going to stab the enemy does the same thing. So you have these two divers underwater, both with knives, holding each other's wrists in this life or death fight. Sergeant Hughes, in jiu-jitsu fashion, wraps his legs around the enemy, pulls him into a guard scenario, and pulls him close to him while they're fighting with both their hands entangled with one another. And Sergeant Hughes does something crazy. He spits his regulator out of his mouth, his air source. He spits it out of his mouth so his mouth will be free as another weapon. Innovative, survival. He takes his mouth and bites down on the enemy's throat and bites his throat out, killing the enemy and able to continue on and complete the reconnaissance mission. Absolutely incredible. One, innovation, will to complete the mission, will to live and fight and complete the job he was tasked to do, this very difficult job. There's a number of other stories just like this, recon dive stories about Sergeant Hughes. In fact, he has 2 documented underwater kills as a reconnaissance Marine. Incredible hero, legendary recon Marine, and his commanding officer had this to say about him. Captain Fred Vogel said about the Gentle Giant that there's no one I'd rather have as security underwater than Sergeant Hughes. Again, an incredible hero. And if you want to learn more about Sgt Hughes and the divers of Force Recon, there's a featured story on bzohistory.com. It's called First to Fight, First Force Recon Operations in Hughes City, Vietnam. Check it out. Amazing story. God bless our military heroes. And thank you for this week coming in and hearing the Mighty Oaks Hero of the Week. God bless.